Hello. Um, I just wanted to share my testimony and just kind of give this type of content just because I'm being pulled this way. Um, I think and I believe it, that God is telling me to share. Of course, everyone needs to share their story to bring more people to God and to bring them to Jesus. And because there's a lot of evil out in the world, and it's higher than ever right now because that's what you know the devil does want your soul. And I know there are people out there that you know roll their eyes, and that's okay, but maybe one day they'll be touched by God, and their soul will be pulling that way and they won't ignore it. But my testimony with God is, it kind of starts a couple years ago. But and that comes to the point of me making this video. But I used to work all the time. So I used to, work for a handyman company, and I worked there for about eight years. And I really liked the environment. They were really nice people. And everything was going, pretty well, but I was a little bit worn down myself. But then my mom, she gets sick, and I'm the only one in my state to take care of her. But my mom gets sick. She has an autoimmune disease, and it attacks pretty much every organ. It attacks your organ, so they don't function correctly, and then you can't really, live life besides being in the hospital constantly. So my mom finds out that she has that. Then she finds out she has lung disease, and they want to have her get a lung transplant. And so she's crying on the phone and just telling me this. And I had just recently taken in my niece for my sister. And my mom, at the time, she's living on her own. And she's called me and she told me that, they told her that she needs a lung transplant. So I'm upset, I hang up with her. She's crying, but, I hang up with her, and then I took the day off. And I spent it with my niece to clean the basement. Trying to get my mind off of things. So going further, my mom is sick. I'm dealing with my niece. I have 3 kids of my own and my husband. So things are just kind of all over the place. I've always believed that, there was a God and things like that. And I never doubted that there wasn't one. But I really never got into it. Into actually knowing what the stories are and things like that. I did grow up watching the classic original Superbook and some Veggie Tales, but never fully dived into the actual Bible and the stories. So I was just a kid, and it kind of just went in one ear and out the other, and these are cute little stories. So that's where I'm at with my faith. I believe there's God, but I'm also not, living a godly lifestyle. I don't live a horrible one, but I'm not, I'm still watching the TV shows. I'm still not opening a Bible or even own a Bible. But I'm just why is this all happening right now? And then, things are just getting really hard at work, and I'm messing up a lot, and I'm not really focusing, and it's just hard. Mentally, it's just hard to deal with. And so I end up telling my job, of 8 years, I'm pretty sure they thought I was just going to stay and retire there, because I was just so happy. But they could tell that something was up, and going back just a little further, maybe a few months before this, my mom actually collapsed at work, and she ended up in the hospital. for a couple days, but then she went right back to work. My mom's always been someone who works constantly. Work. And that's, all she did her entire life. She loves to work. And like, it's good. It's awesome. However, it wasn't good for her body. So anyways, flipping back. So I tell my job that, I really need, I need time with my family. This time I am working 1 day a week at home, but they want me to work, all day, like all the week in the office. And, I have my niece, I have my youngest son home, and my mom home with me. Because my mom, we decided that probably best for her to move in with me so I can keep a closer eye on her, So I tell my job that I'm giving the 4 weeks notice. Like, I'm 4 weeks notice just so you guys can find somebody. Usually you give a 2-week notice, but I gave them 4 weeks so they can find someone, because the job, it's not the easiest job, and people tend to quit fast because, they're like, I'm overwhelmed. So I wanted them to be able to find somebody. I didn't want to put them in a position, that was a bad one. So I said, I'm giving my 4 weeks notice because honestly, you guys are requesting a lot of me, and I can't give that to you right now because my family really needs me. So the very last day that I'm just gonna start the car. The very last day of work, I come home and find my mom. Like, my son is with my mom. He's like watching TV. He doesn't think anything's bad going on. He's pretty content what he's doing. And I come home and she's on the bed. Her eyes are open, but she's completely catatonic. She can't move. I'm like, Mom, are you okay? And she's like just staring at me. I'm like, Mom, are you doing okay? Mom, blink if you can hear me. And she like blinked, but she can't move. She can't move. She can't talk. Nothing. So I panic. I call 911. She ends up being in the hospital. She had a stroke. She had a brain bleed. And she had a stroke. And she ended up being in the hospital for about 6 weeks. And she wasn't, she was recovering, but she wasn't herself. She was, it was very slow going for her to get back to normal. And I'm trying to deal with all of this stuff, but, my niece is causing issues. She's a teenage girl, of course, and she didn't fully grasp what was happening. I'll give her that. She didn't fully grasp on what was happening to my mom. So she kind of was just being a teenager, selfish, didn't give herself overly dramatic. But, I love her, and I get it, okay? Her story is something that's her business. But me, myself, I could not handle it. I could not handle my mom being in the hospital and then having to deal with that. So I had called my sister up and I just said, I cannot do this right now. I need her to go back. So my niece went back. Until this day, she's mad at me because I really did try, I did try. I tried hard with her to give her the attention that she needed, but I also have 3 kids and to deal with my mom. And, unfortunately, a teenage girl needs attention. And that's just something that I didn't have. But I'm also, I feel bad because I felt like I failed her, unfortunately. And right now, I don't know how she's doing. She doesn't want to talk to me, but that's fine. She'll find her way. It's okay. I love her still. Anyways, my mom's in the hospital for a while. I'm still just thinking in my head, like, I'm not sure why this is happening to my mom. She's lived a life. I mean, it's not perfect. Nobody is. But, she never did drugs or alcohol or any of that to her body. She just worked really, really hard. And that also hurts your body. She worked very hard. And it just hurt her. But end result is that she was just sick. So we end up going, so after she gets out of the hospital, my brother comes to visit. He helps, this and that. It's just a little bit of chaos. But anyways, that's her backstory. Doesn't fully get me there yet, to God. But seeing the struggle, and she's still sick, she deals with this every day. But she's a little bit back to being herself now. Because before she was a little bit kind of a person who didn't know who she was and like confused and seemed confused. But now, her personality is back and everything. So it's amazing. So she struggles with this autoimmune disease that causes her whole body to be in pain constantly. Like, and some days she'll have good days where she doesn't really feel that much pain, but it's still there, it's an aggravating pain. So, and she's on like prednisone steroid right now because she's trying to get an infusion to put her autoimmune disease at bay. So it doesn't attack her stuff, but at the moment they have to have her on prednisone, which is awful. So she's been on that for like a lengthy amount of time. Probably almost a year she's been on prednisone. So she recently, like a couple months ago, she's having a hard time to see. She cannot see. Like, you put a hand in front of her face. She's got like big floaters in her eyes. She can't see at all. This just upsets her so bad. And because she's like in pain all the time, and and she cried, like she cried out to God, and she's just like, God, my mom, she has a rocky history with religion, period. She grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. It was not a good experience for her. So, but she does believe in God, and she doesn't have that full relationship with him. But anyways, so she's crying out to God, and she's just like, God, like, I can deal with the pain, everywhere else. I can deal with it, the pain in my body. I can deal with my pain. But I cannot live without my eyes. I don't want to be blind. I can barely see. I can't see in front of my face. I can't see my phone. I can't see anything. I can barely see my relatives when they come visit me because, at this time she's really sick. I mean, if people are visiting her, however, she's having a hard time seeing them and making them out. So she's just pleading to God that, she needs her eyesight because her eyesight is important to her. And, instead of, asking God, heal me completely and, make me invincible and, just heal me so I'm not sick anymore. She didn't ask for that. She said, I can deal with the rest of this pain. You know, I can deal with it every day of my life. But I really need my eyes, God. So 2 days later, we had a doctor's appointment. Well, it's an eye appointment. And it's this eye place, and they really do an extensive, like, exam. It's an exam that takes, like, 2 to 3 hours. So she's doing this extensive exam, and then at the end of the exam, she's like, or they're like, do you have insurance? She's like, I don't. Like, I do have insurance. I have Medicaid. That's what she says. I have Medicaid or whatever. And they're like, well, Medicaid's not going to cover this. You have cataracts and you have glaucoma. And, you know, Medicaid doesn't cover this glaucoma surgery, period. And, you know, cataracts. It'll cover the cataracts, but the glaucoma is your real problem, basically. And that's going to cost you $20,000. So she's like, you know, the doctor's like, well, you know, do you have savings? Do you have retirement money, you know, that you can pay for the surgery? And she's like, I have nothing to my name. Even though my mother worked her entire life, like literally her entire life, she worked for a company that unfortunately takes advantage of their workers. They don't give them retirement. No one ever taught my mom that, you know, put a 401k together and save and put this in so you can have retirement money. Like, no one ever did that. You know, she never had the guidance. She just knew to work, pay her bills, to get things done, but she never, like, put a savings together for her retirement, so she has nothing. She's like, I don't have 2 cents to my name. You know, because she's trying to also get disability right now. Right now, like, she's, like, really trying to get this disability, like, you know, and it's been, like, a year and a half, and they keep going back and forth with their hoopla that they do. That's great. But, you know, she's like, I have no money. I don't have anything to my name. I'm poor. I live with my daughter. She takes care of me. And, you know, so she's just like, I have nothing. You know, telling the doctor that, and, you know, she's just kind of telling the doctor that, you know, she doesn't have any money because she can't physically work because of her illness. And then the doctor, you know, is like, okay. He just hears her talking. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to do the surgery for free. I'm going to do the surgery for free. The nurse is like, she's kind of stunned, you know. She's like, he's never done this for anyone his entire career, and he's been, you know, a doctor for about, like, an eye doctor for like 20 years. So she's like very surprised by this. So my mom is just like, she's shocked. She's like, there is a God. Like, he answered my prayer. He answered me. So at that moment, I was just like, yeah, there is a God. And I always knew there was, but I never had any proof. I just had, you know, faith, and I wasn't that, you know, I'm not that into it. Wasn't. So I'm just stunned. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, here is this miracle that I'm seeing right before my eyes that God has performed for me, or my mother, not for me, but for my mother. And it's amazing. It is so amazing. God's love is so amazing.